So none of you have students in middle school, so I'm just wondering, how are you going to gather these facts from middle school parents? I don't know. Do you have any idea? I mean, usually it's easier when the grade level your kids are, you get to know parents and you hear from them. So I'm just curious if you have any ideas of how you're going to make yourself more available to parents, you know, of different ages in the school and
Sure.
communicating that way too.
I'll take it just because I'm standing. No other
You look
reason.
good up there, by the way.
So there is not one recipe that fits all. You can leverage email, you can utilize surveys, you can phone call, you can be involved in the classroom, but it's really every individual. You know, if you look at a class, each class is going to communicate in one manner. Every individual in this room is going to have a different communication style. So to come up with a plan and a draft that says this is how I'm going to communicate with everybody in this room, it's a little more complex than that and a little more individualized. Mm-hmm. So it's being accessible and it's changing the mindset and it's instilling a mindset across the entire school of a board that cares. Not individuals, but an entire board that cares and wants to hear from the parents.
Janelle, let me give you my mobile number, 720-220-4700. Anytime you want to talk about
This is
something.
now on the website.
That's fine. No spam, please. And we'll do a coffee with Dave sometime. What else you want? The door's got to be more open. John mentioned to me once that their door's wide open, but it's not swinging both ways as similarly on one side as it does the other side. The board needs to come out, and a great idea from Terry is put some information on a board, for crying out loud. If you've seen our website, and I've been disappointed and given up sometimes, you can't find anything on that website. It's terrible. You know, people hate their baby called ugly, but that is a terrible website. So a board where we all walk through, these are the activities taking place, that's a great place to do it. I mentioned in my website for this, colmere.us, we need a Gantt chart. What is a Gantt chart? It's like a TV guide that shows all the months and the weeks of a year and when your fundraisers are going on, right? So I know when I'm going to get hit with some stuff or when all kinds of activities are going on. If we just publish some Gantt charts with activities taking place, rather than having a newsletter come out and spring it on us, hey, in 2 weeks we got this coming. Not good enough.
Okay, well, oh, sorry, I was,
Oh,
that's okay.
Terry, I'm so sorry.
that's okay. I was just gonna try and, as far as middle school, I agree. I don't have middle school yet, and I
Yeah.
don't know very many parents. But I do know some, and I'm willing to make myself as available as possible also. I got one more year, you know, my son will be in 5th next year, and then he'll be there in middle school, so it's close to coming, and, you know, I love people emailing me, you know, that's how I feel I get my information. But of course, you know, like I said, if you get too many WCA blasts, you just kind of start deleting, oh, I read this one. So, yeah, I'm an open book too. Talk to me, corner me. Right now, I walk my daughter in almost every day because, Mommy, you have to walk me in, you know, kindergartner. So, you know, I'm always in the hallways and around, and my daughter's doing the cheer thing, so I'm here, you know, to pick her up. I have my son do tasks on Thursdays, you know, so I try and be here as much as possible. And my schedule's changing, so I'll be able to do more.
Okay, Janelle.
Yeah, I have a question. So I'm wondering how well that the three of you know the current board members and how you anticipate that you'll be able to work with the board. Janelle and I have both been here a very long time. I'm also a teacher. I'll just disclose that. I'm a middle school teacher. I have a 9th grader who is here from kindergarten all the way to 9th grade. I currently have a 7th grader and a 6th grader who have all been here since kindergarten, so I've been here a long time. So I've seen lots and lots of conflict come and go. I've seen conflict handled very well, and I've seen conflict handled very poorly. So I have a two-part question. I want to know how well you think you will work with the current board members, because it's very important to me that we have a cohesive team on the board, number one. And number two, I want to know, how do you deal with conflict? Because we can't anticipate conflict always happening. You know, I don't always anticipate when I turn the corner in the grocery store that there's a parent who's unhappy with me, and I hear about it. And I have to be ready to deal with conflict that fast. So I'd like to know how you do that.
Okay, maybe it's my turn to go first, I'm not sure.
You choose.
Okay. You know, I've attended a lot of the board meetings, and I think I have expressed that I don't necessarily agree with some of the things that have happened. But that being said, you have conflicts with coworkers and stuff every day, and you still go in, you work, you get the job done. Doesn't mean you have to be best friends, but you still sit there, work, get the job done. That needs to be done. You know, I guess that's about it. I mean, you still go in, you put on a happy face, you work together, and just work through it.
Okay?
I like following you, Wayne.
So the two questions, how well do I know the current board? Not at all. I can point them out in the room, I could recognize them by face, and I think that's actually a benefit. Because not having any preconceived notions, whether it's favorable, unfavorable, I believe is a healthy perspective to bring to the board. Could you clarify the second part of your question, please?
How do you deal with conflict?
How do I deal with conflict? I deal with conflict on a daily basis, and I feel it's one of my strengths as a manager of people, as a manager dealing with customers. As I mentioned earlier, our service revenues in this country are approximately $76 million annually, and we have customers in the clinical market, we have customers in the research market, and you can imagine thousands of customers have different expectations, and there's a good bit of conflict that comes along with it. It's something that's helped me be successful in my professional career. I'm a father. I think I made that point earlier, and anybody that's here obviously is a parent, and there's conflict that we deal with your children, with your spouse, with your coworkers. Do I like conflict? No, I don't. I don't wake up in the morning thinking to myself, I can't wait for what kind of fight is going to come on today. But dealing with it and not being afraid of it and being prepared for it and just addressing it. And it comes down to communication. It comes down to understanding what is that individual, what are their concerns, and and understanding what do they want, what do they need, and hearing them. So, does that answer your question?
Go right ahead.
Sorry.
I got a few sentences, 3 or 4. I'm not a mean guy, but I'm a principled guy. And you've got to do your best to get across to me, because I'm going to get through your gate too. I don't believe in being mean in a conflict kind of way, but I will not let you win an argument. Right now I think our board has a bunch of group thinkers because they all agree on a lot of stuff, and that's not healthy. I think we need a little bit of unique perspective.
Chad?
So obviously, the board is required to make really tough decisions. We've seen, whether it's high school or new principal, they're not just in charge of bake sales. So can you give me an example from either your personal or your professional life where you've had to do something that is going against the grain, perhaps, something that is a really, really tough decision where it wasn't a popular decision, but you stood up for what you believed in?
Sure. Firing people's not fun. It makes me cry, quite honestly. And my boss gave me an order to fire somebody, and I fired somebody else. I'm not afraid to stand up, as I said, principally, and do what I think's right for my team. He's my boss, but I'm accountable to my team.
I would say professionally, I probably haven't run into a big situation like that. But I'm not afraid also to voice my opinion and listen to somebody else's. It's all about teamwork. I somewhat ran a post-adoption group here in the Windsor area. And we had a family that liked to dominate the conversations. You know, their issues was bigger and worse than everybody else's. And as a adoptive parent, there's a lot of issues that come along with it. And, you know, talking to her, to that family and saying, hey, you gotta give the floor and to other people and let them express their concerns and what they're going through. And so they were not always dominating that. So that's just a little issue that I had to deal with as a leader.
It's a good question. Thank you for it. You know, in my professional career, I've had to make some tough personnel decisions not on a frequent basis, but every semi-annually or so, every year and a half, a couple of years, has been looking back historically the record. Is it fun? No. Is it easy? No. Does it have to happen? Yeah, it does. If somebody isn't performing in a professional and a team environment, if somebody's not holding up their end and they're not performing to the expectations, by all means, give them a chance to step up, point out where they're falling short. But at the end of the day, if they're not pulling their weight and there's somebody else that's going to do that is going to do the job that they're paid to do, that decision needs to happen. For acts of dishonesty, again, as an employee-employee relationship, decisions like that, they can't go unnoticed. They need to happen. If I may answer, did I answer your question?
Sure.
Okay. If I can expand just a bit and answer the other side of that, and that's bringing new talent and making decisions of who you bring in to an organization. I also have experience with that, of hiring biomedical field engineers, working in the medical arena, working in the university, in the drug discovery programs. Those individuals who are getting a start on their career or who need to do a job that they're paid to do at a high technical and professional level, going through dozens of resumes and candidates and interviews and identifying the individual traits that's going to make them successful in a remote work environment. Also, a couple of years ago, the church I attend, we brought in a new grade school, preschool teacher. And so there was a selection process that needed to happen there of looking across a pool of candidates nationally of who's going to be the best fit for our church and for our preschool and for the needs that we have for the community. So there's two parts of making a tough decision. It's when somebody needs to terminate their employment, but also looking at the future and what's the health and what's the growth that somebody's going to bring from the outside.
Thanks. Kelly?